Hello, everybody, and welcome to Enter the Rift Podcast, Season 2, Episode 1. I'm your host, Kenny. Joining me is my brother and co-host, Garrett. Woo! Thank you for joining us back after the little extended break in between episodes here. It's been a little bit busy. Had to do a multi-state move, started a new job, things like that. But now we're back. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the drone mania that happened in 2024. And then after the break, we're going to be talking about the Wisconsin man bat.
The little green men.
Yeah, all those weird little green guys flying around in drones over military bases.
And nuclear sites.
Yeah, let's get into it. So there was a big increase in drone activity somewhere starting in mid-November of last year, notably in New Jersey around November 13th. And then that was at the Picatinny Arsenal in Morris County. Also reports around Bedminster, New Jersey, which is where I guess Trump has a golf course at. Mm-hmm. And then it started there and it slowly began just increasing in activity and spreading to multiple states. So there's been sightings mostly on the eastern seaboard. So it kind of started in New Jersey and then it went to New York, it went to Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Ohio, and then Texas and Utah also had some pretty notable reports. It kept going, like it becoming more and more intense in activity up until early December. And it seems like after early to mid-December, that's when the activity has started to decrease and go down. Obviously, there's still some sightings and everything, but like it's not at that fever pitch that it was for the longest time.
Yeah, the majority of it has seemed to calm down, except for like from a news broadcast I watched that was posted 2 weeks ago. It's still apparently pretty prevalent, even down to, I think, Florida. No, wait, Louisiana. Yeah, Louisiana. There's been some going over top of some nuclear power plants.
Interesting. I knew about the military bases. I wasn't super familiar with the nuclear sites.
Yeah, quite a lot, actually.
And the weird thing about these drones is some of them were described as, you know, just your normal like quadcopters, which that was probably a hobbyist or, you know, like our own stuff. But one was even described as a big rotating jellyfish. Like, what the hell is that? Some of these drones are reported to be the size of SUVs. Like, I've heard anywhere from small SUV to suburban or huge SUV. Mm-hmm. So very, very large. There's been reports of these drones being amphibious and coming from water and then going to the air. And then a lot of what people have been seeing have been completely silent. If it's a quadcopter and if it's close, you should be able to hear like that whirring noise from the fans.
Yeah. There was a few multiple sightings that at least mentioned that. And I think it was Jersey. It may have been Virginia, but it flew over to people's heads. It sounded like a helicopter. It looked like it had the lights and stuff, but they weren't blinking. They were solid, which goes against FFA regulation and all that. And the big thing that they said was it got like right above their heads, like of the tree line, but there was no rotor wash.
So they didn't feel on any of the air movement.
No, just it had lights, it had sound, but it didn't look like a helicopter. All I saw was like the light, and it had no rotor wash. It had noise, like almost like an audio recording.
That's really weird.
Mm-hmm. Also, there was a congressman or senator during like a statement that Trump made. And this was before he was sworn in, I believe. But the one guy mentioned that it had tail lights. It looked like a rectangular vehicle with tail lights and like a rectangular bar on the back. It had lights on the front and rear, but they didn't blink or nothing. They were just solid, which again goes against aircraft regulation. So it's like, what
that's
the hell
also just
is it?
Incredibly weird. Like, why?
Yeah.
If you're trying to make something
with the flying Cadillac.
Yeah. If you're trying to make something that flies, making a block or a cube isn't really exactly aerodynamic if you're
But
using...
it's got style. Bunch of freaking flying aliens all meffed out in an old like Cutlass G body freaking flying around doing hood rat shit.
Doing hood rat shit. But I guess if you have a unconventional propulsion system like anti-gravity, you could be flying around in a brick. I guess that doesn't matter.
You could fly around in a freaking beanbag chair for all we know. You could be going around just freaking vegged out.
Vegged out.
Yeah, looking like a genie. Yeah, you rub the bong and the alien comes down in the beanbag chair.
My God. So, and then a lot of people have reported that people have been seeing these in flying in formations, which that's nothing too crazy. I mean, everyone's seen those videos from like China where it's like the dragon in the sky from like the drones, but in those videos, can't you like hear them?
I mean, I've never seen one from directly underneath. Only seen some from like a few miles or kilometers away.
Do you have any more stories or anything about some of the weirdness people were seeing?
Apparently, there was links to the Miami Mall incident in some way with like this recent flap. Something about they're saying that the non-human entities or whatever they were calling them, NHI, somehow got their coordinates backwards and they were supposed to go somewhere else. But why were they using, like I was watching the one guy said, longitude and latitude? Like, why would they use that and get it inverted?
Yeah, that's really weird. Why would they be using like traditional coordinates that only tell you like basically north, south, east, west if they're doing space travel? Mm-hmm. And then could you tell people what the Miami Mall incident is for people who don't know?
I think it happened in what, like 2019? Or no, maybe after that, 2021? I have to look it up, to be honest. There was an event where this mall got shut down to the point where like it looked like every cop in the state from like the news footage I saw just surrounding it. And they at first were claiming active shooter, but everybody else, like including people on the ground with their cell phones, were saying that there was like a 9-foot tall entity in the mall, and it was causing like people to like panic, as one does. And something to do with a guy has video of it, but he's being hunted by the government. But I'm pretty sure that got proven as fake. But then again,
who knows? Many
whistleblowers before have been said that shit's fake, and then they just disappear. So come get in the van. Nothing bad will happen. We are here from the government. Nothing to panic about.
But okay, so let's talk about the White House announcement that happened recently here about what they said about the drones. This announcement was made on January 29th, and it covered a lot of stuff, but some of it they did mention about the drones, and this is supposed to be relayed from the president directly, that supposedly these drones were ours.
Yeah, which to an extent, I definitely think that with like a lot of them, because some of the close-up, if anybody has seen some of the pictures, they look like some of the like helicopter style drones, like like not a quadcopter. It has tail rotor, whole deal. Looks like a conventional helicopter or a VTOL, but unmanned. And it says like U.S. Navy on the bottom of it. It has a little spotlight deal, Dad. It has like the landing struts, like a normal helicopter. Like it looks like a little bird, but more little.
Yeah. So supposedly these were all authorized to be flown by the FFA for research, and it says in the statement various other reasons, and that a lot of the other drones that people saw were from hobbyists, just for either people doing it for recreational purposes or
internet clout or whatever.
Yeah, or like people who for doing like video and things like that. But there's a couple of issues I have with that. It doesn't really add up, I would say. So here's what my thoughts are for some of this. I would say
it's China. It's got to be China.
They said that in this statement that it's not the enemy. So I'm assuming
it's not China. I'm just saying it's not China. They say it's Iran, but it's not. It's China.
What I think is that probably I would say a lot, maybe even the majority of these are our own aircraft and as hobbyists, but some of these just don't make sense for it to be U.S. military or hobbyists, like the flying jellyfish one. Like that is just so odd. I just don't think we're being told the whole picture.
Yeah, one might say the jellyfish looks like the wheels within wheels with eyes. Kind of sounds a little familiar.
Yeah. Going back to the Ezekiel days.
Yeah.
Recently, Joe Rogan actually came out with a podcast. It was episode 2264 with Linville Logan and Jason Sands. And those two men are both in the UAP task force, or at least they used to be. Maybe not now anymore. But in that podcast, and it's around the 2-hour mark if you were looking for it, they were talking about how that the government had a SCIF meeting regarding these drones and everything. And so it's pronounced SCIF, but it's an acronym, SCIF, and it's Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility. And it's basically like a secured room that people can have meetings in with no like electronic surveillance or anything. So these people had meetings with no cell phones, nothing, and it was in a secured room where there couldn't be like any audio recording from inside or outside. And so what my thoughts are is like, if it is just flights for research purposes, why is a SCIF meeting required to discuss that?
Yeah, because what kind of information do they have to debrief on?
Right.
Because either A, like there's some rumors that they were doing like a sweep for like some sort of terrorist cell or something, I heard people say, or that there was all sorts of other activities from like, foreign players and the whole proxy bullshit. Of course, everybody heard there's a mothership offshore, it's from Iran, and all this other crap, which that sounds absolutely like total war hawk bullshit right there. That just sounds straight up like a diversion, or like, hey, let's get the military-industrial complex back up and running. Yeah.
I've heard there was some theories where like some guy on Reddit said that basically this was all tests to like see like what we could do like for anti-drone defense things. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that explains why they're surrounding all these military bases, and that explains why they're surrounding areas that the president frequents fairly often.
Right. And places of population and all that.
Yeah. Which I guess could be why they could have that SCIF meeting. It could be a reason, I would say. But what I don't get is, so they've been sighted around multiple military bases, notably Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. And Wright-Patterson even had to shut its airspace down for a while. Would they do that if it was communicated to them that it was like a known test? If like they knew things were going to be happening, like would they shut everything down? I don't know.
Yeah, because it could be the proper way to test is to just do it and not tell them.
That's true.
I mean, because if the aircraft has, I don't know if you could call it a freaking aircraft at this point, because the way it operates, it almost seems like interdimensional, or at least it operates under like a different plane of travel, just because how it can like be at one point on the radar and in under a second it's like 20 something miles away without even any like sign of travel. It just is there. It seems like it's very odd for them to be over Wright-Patterson in particular, because that's where Hangar 18 is, isn't it?
Wright-Patterson's known for being connected to like the whole UFO
UAP
mythology and everything. Project Paperclip, all that kind of stuff. Project Blue Book.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the most like notorious military bases in regards to extraterrestrials and UFOs.
Yeah, I know people say like that's the real Area 51.
Yeah, where they actually have like unidentified aircraft. Yeah. But, if you go with what Bob Lazarev said, Area 51 also has the real deal.
Yeah.
Another thing I was thinking about in regards to these drones, UFOs, or UAPs, whatever you want to call them, it seems like every 10 to 30 years, there's like a really big flap of UFO, UAP sightings. And it seems to have like really kicked off like after Roswell, New Mexico, which happened in 1947. Like I was saying earlier, I think some of these is definitely ours. They're definitely like our equipment, but some of the stuff that I think people are seeing is definitely not. And by not ours, I just mean like not human in origin.
Yeah, I know that the one they I got their names mixed up, but the older guy on the Joe Rogan podcast who was involved with the whole NHI program or like UAP program, the longest, he was saying about how like some of them are hybrids. They're like some back engineering going on, and we have developed our own, at least partially developed our own. It could, like that one guy said that some of it seems like it could have been developed as a like a joint project between us and the NHI, but I don't know. That seems a little weird. But heard weirder things before.
Yeah. But like, I think what we're seeing now is like our generations, this time at least, it's the flap in the UFO, UAP phenomena. This all started back in 1947 with the Roswell UFO crash, which that's one of the most documented, talked about UFO encounters in history.
And apparently there was two crashed craft involved with that, not just one.
Yeah, but then you go to 1952, and that was when you had the Washington, D.C. UFO incident, where there was multiple radar and eyewitness reports of multiple identified objects near the White House. What also happened in 1952, the Flatwoods Monster.
Right.
Then you can kind of jump to 1965 to 1967, and a bunch of things happened there with like the Kecksburg, Pennsylvania incident, and then Michigan in 1966 there was a bunch of UFO sightings that prompted congressional investigations. If you go to 1973, that's when like the whole invasion of Chestnut Ridge happened, and so that's like a big thing that happened in southwestern Pennsylvania, where people have seen, where we're seeing multiple UFOs. And to get a little bit more weirder into it, there has been reports of people seeing like Bigfoot and UFOs in the same area, or that Bigfoot coming out of the UFOs. If you go to 1989 to 1990, that's when you get the Belgian UFO wave. And this is when like the triangle UFOs start coming into the picture, is in around this time period. And that was observed by civilians, police, and military. Of course, if you're talking about big triangle or potential like boomerang shaped craft, if you go to 97, that's when the Phoenix lights happened, which is crazy. Giant ships and lights like seen over Phoenix, Arizona. And now you could say it kind of goes back to all the way to like 2019, 2020, when the Navy started, releasing videos and stuff of what they've known. But like now, if we could jump to now, this is when we're seeing all of this stuff with all these weird drones happening now. So it's like this has been going on, not all the time, probably not all the time, but like it seems like at least every 10 to 30 years there's a big flap in events. There's a lot more of them. There's obviously, you can go to every year to probably find a notable incident, but like it seems there's a lot of like big things that happen every 10 to 30 years or so.
Oh yeah, and one thing, I don't remember the date. I'll have to ask him, but one of my coworkers who lived on the next ridge from me said that he was on his porch and a silent aircraft went over his house, and it was triangular shaped, and it like glided. It didn't just like go over like a normal aircraft. Had like the free lights, the whole deal, the whole circular lights and triangle formation, like the stereotypical black triangle in the sky UFO.
Nice. That's pretty interesting.
Mm. I mean, I do live within, well, eye shot of a military, communication base. So makes sense kind of.
Yeah. All right. So what's your final thoughts here on this drone flap that happened in 2024?
Honestly, I have very mixed opinions about it. Like, I want to say a good 75% of it, of the sightings, has to do with the U.S. government. The other percent there, you got, of course, some drones were like, like they said, the hobbyist stuff, because some people wanted to obviously see if they could see stuff with their drones, or also capitalize on, the situation, and, maybe like pull a goof, everybody's going to do that. Everybody wants to, maybe like, help freak some people out just for their own entertainment. Personally, I'd probably do it. But so that's nonetheless, I'm not going to judge anyone because I probably do the same shit. But I want to say that, of course, I've seen the videos of people saying, "Look, there's one of them drones," and it's literally Venus, and you just never paid attention before, or it's a plane or a satellite, because some of them are like, come on, you can tell the difference. If one's doing zigzags and it looks like it's going to be going faster than the sound barrier, not a satellite, not a plane. But yes, I want to say like the majority of the sightings that people were seeing, maybe actual UAP. Well, I guess like technically it is an actual UAP, because what does the acronym stand for again? Non-explainable aerial phenomenon, some shit.
Unidentified anomalous phenomenon.
Okay, so it still fits. I don't know why they got rid of UFO, but yeah, I would say like there's the good majority of it is explainable, and the rest is heads or tails. I don't know.
But yeah, I would agree. I think most of it probably was U.S. military and then hobbyists. But then you have that, like, I don't know, 2 to 5% that aren't really explainable by conventional means. So yeah, I think it was definitely very interesting, and it was probably something still to look into. Now we can talk about something else that was in the skies here. Let's go to the Wisconsin man bat.
No. Copyright.
So there's a couple different stories regarding the man bat here, which is a flying humanoid. It's been described as gray to black in color with very large reflective eyes, and it looks like a giant humanoid bat. Pretty self-explanatory there. One of the earliest stories I've seen regarding the man bat is from back in 2002. So let's read the story here. So this is from a secondary account, and I'm just going to read what they wrote. This is my mom's story. I was just in the car. I was 6 when this happened and only remember her panicking. In January of 2002, we were staying in an apartment right off the Seminole Highway exit on a Beltline in Madison, Wisconsin. My mom got off at our exit, turned left, and started towards the second set of lights after crossing over the bridge. As she reached the lights, she saw a large bat-like creature flying towards us. She said it turned its head, and she believes they made direct eye contact, but as soon as she saw it, it disappeared. She said it was opaque in color, almost shadow-like. This event happened in the evening, so it was darker outside, and details were impossible to make out. The wings it had didn't flap, but it was just gliding in the air. This thing had bright red glowing eyes, and she was absolutely freaked. I remember her scream. As previously stated, this thing vanished as soon as it appeared. She thought that was it and that she wouldn't have to see this thing again. But a few weeks later, in our Allied Doctor apartment we moved into, my mom was downstairs doing the laundry when she turned around to look in our storage unit. In the back of the unit, behind some of our junk, she saw another bat-like face with glowing red eyes staring right at her, similar to that of the creature she witnessed on Seminole. She panicked, ran upstairs, and she never went down into that basement again. We moved out of there shortly after the second incident, and we never bothered getting our things out of the storage unit. Yes, we left all our stuff there. That was the last time my mom ever saw anything like that. About 2 or 3 days after her second incident with seeing this creature, my mom saw a few news reports about other people reported to have seen a very similar creature to what my mom has saw. Occasionally, we try to find these news reports, but we have yet to find anything on it. I strongly believe that whoever removed these news articles, they are trying to keep sightings away from the public, as there are no official reports anymore to be found. To this day, she says that whatever it was, it didn't appear earthly. So that's kind of crazy. Like you're just driving down the highway, getting ready to go home, and then you just see this giant flying humanoid bat. And then
meanwhile, you have your kid in the car, so that's twice as freaking scary.
Yeah, and it just like disappears, and then a couple of days later, you're in your basement doing laundry, and you turn around and where you have all your stuff, you see like the face of it, like it's there, and you're hiding amongst your shit. Like,
yeah, sorry about your luck, ho. You got demons. Yeah.
That would be like, I mean, I don't know what I'd do if I saw a giant bat creature in my house. Like, basically, I don't know, kind of like the Red Court vampires off of Dresden Files when they're in their vampire mode. Like, that would be like scary as shit.
Beat it with a Bible. Like when you have a spider in the bathtub and you hit it with a flip flop or like a bottle of shampoo, you just get that Bible and just start beating it.
Let's go to another encounter with this one. This encounter is probably one of the more famous ones for this cryptid. So this took place on the evening of September 26, 2006, around 9:30 p.m. Two men were driving home from a music rehearsal in the Mississippi River city of La Crosse. It was a father and son. The son was at the wheel as their pickup truck rolled up the hill on Briggs Road in a rural area between La Crosse and Holman. They were just passing a private shooting range on the right when a great dark thing flew out of the black night and almost completely blotted out their windshield with its wingspan. As the men braced for a collision, the creature's appearance scared them even more than the prospect of an imminent crash. The dark thing's bat-like wings unfurled to a span wider than the truck. The men estimated it at between 10 and 12 feet, and they were attached to a human-sized, furry, roughly bat-like body topped by a canine face, large, sharp fangs, and pointed ears. The creature's extended arms and legs ended in prominent clawed feet. The men could clearly see its ribcage as it bore down on their truck. It looked hungry, said the older man, who goes by his name of Wahali. His son swerved to avoid the creature, which shot upward at the last second before impact and disappeared over some nearby trees, and as it left, it emitted a piercing shriek. Both of us had feelings of nausea, and we were very afraid, wrote Wahali in a letter recounting the incident. While this site is about 3 city blocks from our home at that time, and when we got home, we were both sick. My son threw up 6 or 7 times, and I gagged and was sick all night. I've been living in this valley all my life and have seen some strange things. After all, the Upper Mississippi River Refuge is the largest in the county. It hides lots of strange creatures, but I've never seen anything like this. So that's kind of crazy. You're just driving home at night and this thing swoops towards your car, and at the last second, it flies upwards. But as it does, it makes a horrible streak. I'm assuming probably messed with their inner ear, and that's why they were so nauseous and throwing up, because if the fluid in your inner ear gets disturbed, that can cause nausea. It's one of the reasons people get like motion sickness or seasickness, is that gets motion gets messed up. So like maybe that's why they got so sick.
Yeah, or it could be like infrasound.
That too. Yeah, any kind of it could have been also emitting a sound that wasn't audible to the human ear, but they definitely felt the effects of it. Yeah.
Also, back to Dresden Files, it reminds me of when Harry Dresden saw the Nagloshi. Also described pretty similar. Yeah. He also threw up afterwards.
But I think that is crazy. The thing is, it's like they said, I think the wingspan was like around, I think they said like 10 to 12 feet. So like, depending on which that's really big, but depending on how big this thing is, I feel like sometimes the wings aren't big enough to actually provide like normal lift to like a
all I can think of is what is it called when okay, so like bumblebees, they can flap their wings fast enough to counteract the weight of the body. I'm just imagining a giant like Mothman man bat just going like a freaking like a big bloat fly just flying around.
Oh my god! But Oh God.
That's why when you see these sightings and stuff, they say like the wings didn't move. It just opened and lifted. It's because it's like a frame rate issue. It's just not picking up. It looks static.
But it's actually moving super fast.
Yeah, he just kind of like vibrates and just goes wee.
Oh my God. It is possible it was just gliding, but who knows? Like it jumped off a tree or some shit. This is probably one of the more well-known reports of the Wisconsin man bat. All right, let's go over to Phantoms and Monsters by Lon Strickler. And he received a report. This one's a little bit more recent. So in mid-April of last year, 2017, I was sitting inside my car, which was parked facing north in the driveway at my home, located between Eagle Palmyra and Mukwonago, Wisconsin. I had been having an extended phone conversation with an old friend on the way home and had not gone inside the house yet. And I remember looking at the radio clock at approximately 10:45 p.m. It had been a dreary, overcast, misty, and rainy day. One of those days where it just drizzled nonstop, but never turned into an outright heavy downpour. While shooting the breeze about the day's events, I looked up briefly from the dash of my vehicle, a minivan, and momentarily noticed someone who was very, very tall and very dark just standing in the rain, about 5 to 10 feet at most in front of my vehicle. They stood perfectly still with raindrops dripping down off of their body. It was rather dark, but there is a post lamp at the end of the driveway near the road, about 40 to 50 feet from where I was parked, so I could make out the silhouette with a slight bit of backlighting from the lamp. As I had been in mid-conversation, I looked away for 1 second, my brain not immediately registering or comprehending what I'd just seen. So within about a second and a half, I did a double take as I suddenly thought, wait a minute, what was that? As I forcibly directed my unbelieving gaze back up toward the front of the vehicle, I said to my friend on the phone, "You're not going to believe this." And I proceeded to quickly turn on my headlamps and stare at this thing as I gave a concise yet detailed as possible description to my buddy while I was literally shaking and scared out of my wits. I was looking at a creature, for lack of a better term, that essentially looked like a 7-foot-tall bat reptile of some sort. The head was at the level of the roof of my minivan, or slightly more elevated than my roof, and it was standing perfectly still, just staring right at me. Its eyes were large, taking up a significant portion of the thing's head, from what I could make out, and although they were dark, like large black eyeballs, there was a glint of reflection in them which allowed me to discern that they were, in fact, definitely its eyes. It was haunting, for lack of a better way to put it. I'm actually getting super creeped out just recalling the memory of this event. I also noticed that besides the creature's height, it was also quite large, possessing extraordinarily swarthy coloration, although skin or scales of some kind, not feather nor fur covered from what I could tell. It was at least as wide as a very large man, but it did not seem stocky, as it were, and I stared at it uncomfortably. I realized that it actually had huge wings, but they were wrapped around its body, exactly as a bat wraps its wings around its body while sleeping upside down. Except this thing was standing right side up, looking right at me, or almost through me, and let me just say, it definitely seemed ominous. My initial reaction was just to tell my buddy on the phone that I was looking at a giant back dragon-looking thing, to which he asked if I had been drinking or something, and I assured him that this thing was really standing there, and I was looking right at it. The bottom of its face, maybe its mouth, was completely covered by its fleshy-looking wings wrapped around its body. And I could tell that whatever it was certainly physically powerful, as the rather wide shoulder wing area appeared to show some manner of musculature. The way it was standing there, it seemed to likely have a general humanoid body shape under the wrapped wings. I could not see its feet since it was standing too close to the vehicle, nor could I see anything below what I would imagine would be considered knee-high on the creature. That's how close it was. I was very afraid. As soon as I had given my friend on the phone a description of what I was seeing, I noticed that it seemed to very quickly move, although I did not see it unwrap its wings or walk per se, but there was simply what I would describe as a brief blur in the headlights, and it was gone. The entire time of the observation before it vanished was realistically only about 12 seconds, But considering the uneasy, wayward way that this thing was leering at me, even that was too long. Now on the verge of panicking, my friend who was still on the line attempted to make light of the situation, and though I was appreciative of his friendly candor, I got out my trusty LED emergency flashlight from the glove box and told him that I was not about to continue sitting out there any longer and was retiring to the house indoors for the night. The remainder of that evening was uncomfortable but uneventful. So, yeah, you're just chilling in your car and you look up and you see this gargoyle demon-looking thing that's wrapped in its wings, like standing in front of your car just staring at you. I don't know. Man, I don't know if, like, what to do. I don't know if I would have just froze or if I would have threw it in drive. You know, who knows?
Yeah, another movie/media reference, Jeepers Creepers, when he's standing in the road.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too, actually. There's a description of how it was like a weird bat reptilian looking thing.
Mm-hmm. Also, another thing, who the hell says retire to the house?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was looking for, he was busting through his thesaurus and like, oh, this is a good word.
Yeah. It's like, homie, I don't think you're American.
Oh my God.
Did you have a holiday? Yeah, but seriously, that is a pants shitting moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be just insane.
Isn't it Spanish? Bruja is witch, right?
Yeah.
It's the owl witch?
That's lechuza.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's all I was thinking. Chinga tu madre, lechuga! Just boom! Boom!
Lechuga is lettuce.
Oh. Mother effing lettuce. Woof. That floors it. Oops.
Oh, that's funny.
Donde está lechuga?
Let's go to another sighting here. In late September of 2016, at approximately 10 p.m. Central Time, the witness was driving on East State Road, Route 59, approximately 7 miles west of Whitewater, Wisconsin, and she was heading home after visiting her daughter. Suddenly, a man-like being with huge pterodactyl-like wings glided in front of her and behind another car, flying from right to left at an altitude of 10 feet or so above the road. The witness was totally shocked at what she was seeing. The being's body was definitely human in shape, or about 6 foot in length, and the wingspan was at least twice the body length. The wings were membrane like that of a bat and never moved or flapped. The entire being was dark in color. There seemed to be a structure along the top of its head, but no eyes or facial features were seen. The witness's reaction was to hit the gas pedal and to get out of the area. The driver in front of her must have noticed the winged being as it emerged from the right and sped away as well. She had read my recent posts in reference to the sighting in the Chippewa Falls area and was advised by her husband to call and inform me about what she had encountered. There are other reports from southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois were being investigated. Yeah, that's just kind of crazy. You're just driving and a giant, like, winged humanoid bat creature just flies across the road.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine I'd probably, like, be hitting the gas, too, to get out of there.
Yeah, and again with the not flapping the wings.
Yeah, it was just gliding.
Yeah. So I spread my wings and I fly away.
Oh, my God. Oh, man.
I'm just waiting for some redneck to freaking shoot it with a 12 gauge when it goes flying over.
So, boom!
Just give it the lead, Otis. Boom!
A lot of these more recent sightings seem to be in like the 2016 to 2018
Isn't that
like,
within
time period.
the flap of the Chicago Mothman as well?
Yes, actually.
So within the flap with the UFOs, we also have the Chicago Mothman and other flying humanoids.
Yeah, and this is southern Wisconsin, so that's close to northern Illinois. So it's not too far away from Chicago.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to a slightly more recent sighting. This took place in 2019, and it was near Blair, Wisconsin, during rifle season. So in November of 2019. I'm going to read from the perspective of the witness here. I was riding in the back bed of an ATV at around 5 p.m. The evening was cloudy and overcast, and it was lightly drizzling. The ATV was being operated by a family friend in his 60s. While driving through the woods on our way back to our cabin, I was looking into the forest and first noticed a raccoon standing on the ground in a frozen state. And next to it was a huge creature estimated to be approximately 7 to 8 feet tall and probably about 200 pounds. The creature was standing upright with its chin up, head tilted slightly back and eyes open. It was standing under a tree branch using the leaves to block the rain, so I was able to get a perfect view of it, and I was probably 10 feet away from it. The creature was human-like in body structure, yet extremely muscular. It was built like an NFL running back, huge muscular legs, super strong abdominal muscles, 8-pack, very broad shoulders, and huge biceps. Its feet were human-like with 5 toes on each foot, with giant claws on its feet. Its entire body was dark black and hairless. It had leathery-looking skin. Its head looked like that of a fruit bat, and on its back was a set of huge wings, dark leather color like a huge bat. The wings were closed on its back, yet were the full length of its body, so if extended, I would estimate a wingspan of about 12 feet. It looked intimidating, yet I don't think it would have attacked me if I would have approached it. Like I stated, I was very close to it and did not seem to be threatened by our presence. The entire encounter took about 2 minutes. I noticed it, yet did not mention it to my friend operating the ATV since the ATV was loud and I was too far back to get his attention. I never saw this creature again, yet I've thought about that sighting ever since. Yeah, so there's another day where it's like another dreary, overcast, rainy day, and someone saw one of or this thing, maybe, and it's another similar description where, like with the other one, they said it had a canine-like head. Well, if you've ever seen fruit bats, they look like foxes. They're even called flying foxes sometimes. So it's like, I would say that's probably what these people are seeing, the same creature or creatures. So what would you be thinking if you were out riding an ATV one day and you saw that?
My pretty much go-to is that's demonic.
You gonna bust out the shotgun with a silver shot?
Stuff a rosary down a shotgun barrel. I mean, I don't have a Bible that's big enough to thump something that big over the head, but I do have some some old biblical dictionaries and Hebrew translations that are from the 1890s that are like the size of a like Encyclopedia Dramatica. I can beat them with. Or Encyclopedia, what is it called? Yeah, Britannica. Britannica. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get dramatic.
Yeah.
Thump, thump, thump. Just start beating it with an old hardback book from the 1890s. This thing's the size of a freaking shoebox.
Oh my gosh. That'd be hilarious. I don't know what I would do. I don't know. I don't know if I'd just freeze and stare or if I would like try to just run.
Combination of both.
Maybe.
Well, depending on where I was, I might be armed, so I might just dump a mag at it.
Man, what if that just pisses it off?
I still dumped a mag at it. I'm still reacting. You got two options: freeze or react. You can either run, you can shoot it, or you can run and shoot it. So, or you can just stand there and wait for it to pick its teeth with your ribs.
Oh my god! Yeah, I'm gonna try to not become lunch. So that's the goal.
Yeah,
I guess.
I'm not trying to be some giant bat creature's guano pile.
Oh my god!
You're like, oh look, he had knee implants. How can you tell? Because the pile of shit next to the Skechers.
Oh my god. Oh man. So yeah, a lot of things flying around in the skies, it seems. Gliding. It's either a military drone, UFO, or a giant bat monster.
Porque los dos. It's a combination of all the above. We got the interdimensional space demons in league with the globalists, full Alex Jones mode. I'm telling you people, these are demons. What do I do, Lord? Destroy the child. Corrupt them all.
Anyway, if you've enjoyed this episode of Enter the Rift podcast, let us know what you think. Leave a comment. Share it with your friends. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Peace.